Hi everyone, welcome to Wallace TV, where you can improve your life through creative advice. And today I'm here with the wonderful Pip Jamieson, and we're going to be speaking about how you can improve yourself creatively, and not just creatively, you know, from a skill set standpoint, but also from a business standpoint as well. There's so much opportunity that we spoke about just before, and that a lot of graphic designers especially are not paying attention to, that we want to kind of kickstart in. But before we do that, I just want to introduce Pip, and for those of you who don't know Pip is, can you take 5 minutes or so to just explain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why am I even here?
It's a wonderful to have you. So yeah, I'm the founder of The Dots. So people call us LinkedIn for the creative industries. I guess the whole business started because I used to work at MTV, and when I was at MTV, I was finding it really hard to connect with brilliant talent, which sounds crazy because talent should be coming to us, but the problem is that, when we were at MTV, if I put a job on a normal job board, for example, I just get inundated with applicants, which sounds good, but actually when you're really time poor, you're just trying to find that perfect person. So what started happening at MTV, we started like hiring mates and mates and mates, but the problem with that is we just weren't getting this fresh injection of ideas and skills coming into the business because everyone was really samey. And I kind of experienced firsthand like how dangerous it is for creativity. If you all think the same, your output's going to become really the same. And LinkedIn I just found really corporate, and it just wasn't, it's so business, so like white, and like everyone was in a suit, and I don't know, it just didn't resonate with me. And also a lot of us were adopting portfolio careers, so that kind of CV based way of promoting yourself, well, I was working on multiple projects at any one time. They tended to be creative based. So I just wanted to create a platform that was really easy for me to promote myself online, but also really easy for like me hiring creatives to find amazing talent to work on projects. And so yeah, it just kind of, just started the platform because I was trying to solve a problem I was having, and then the rest I guess is history.
This is a great thing for so many people to pay attention to, especially so for those who are maybe 1 year, 2 years into their career, maybe even more, being on The Dots is just as vital as being on Behance or Dribble or any of those other platforms. And can you talk to me as to like what's the main difference with The Dots versus like a Behance, for example, or anything like that? Yeah,
I think for us it's specifically designed around helping companies connect. So Behance is beautiful for inspiration, and they've done an awesome job for that. But I guess for us, we're a professional network. So it's all about helping people connect with each other, find collaborators, find freelance jobs, full-time work. And we work with like 6,000 businesses now use The Dots. So it's kind of pretty much the whole gamut of the creative industry. So every tech companies like Spotify and Google and Facebook, but then you've got pretty much all the advertising industry, design industry, but then you've got like fashion houses like Burberry, Net-a-Porter, arts organizations like the Tate. And we've just made it really easy for them to search and find talent. And I guess the other big difference is we're all about the full teams around creativity. So the way the site works is someone can put an app up, for example, and then tag this was the designer, this was the engineer, this was the producer. And we're a bit like a living wiki of projects and the people in teams behind it.
And then from finding that designer, they can see, wow, he worked on X projects. And then with Jason, Billy, Bob, Ted, Charmaine, whoever.
Exactly. So you can see, right, this was the UI designer, this was the UX designer. They've worked on all these different projects together. And then the brilliant thing from the companies we work with, so someone like Google, they can go on to The Dots and search robotics, and they'll suddenly find all these projects for robotics and find the teams behind those projects. Or they can go on and say, actually, we love the NatWest app, and they can put NatWest app and they can see the full team behind that app. So it's kind of a recognition that like creativity doesn't really happen in isolation. Like you can have a rock star UI designer, but if you don't have a great UX designer, front-end engineer, back-end engineer, that project's actually never going to come to life. So it's a recognition that creativity is actually like a team endeavor. It's a holistic whole coming together and making brilliant work.
Off the whole team creativity.
Correct. Excellent. Yeah, exactly.
And then the employer is then able to then quickly find them based upon projects they like, based upon a designer they like as well, which is just even more effective.
Exactly. And they get to see like the whole visuals and motion behind it, as well as just on LinkedIn you can just see, okay, someone works at Google, but what do you actually do? You know, like you might have designed this one button, or you might have like done the whole onboarding. It's kind of that, the dots allows people to showcase that.
What's incredible is that there actually was a gap in the market for that, because like you said, where the enhances and the dribbles and those platforms would just show you the work in isolation. You would never know the full context of it a lot of times. And sometimes you make, like, I love the word you used before, inspiration. Like you're on there for inspiration. But then when you look at it, it's just inspiration, because you can't practically use the project. You know, whereas it sounds like on the dots, people are doing real world projects. These are actually been published, actually been worked on. You know, they're actually in use with real users. And then there's so much value there.
Well, that's it. Value is the perfect way of explaining. Like, you know, everything we obsess about is if people are going to spend time on us, that we actually give them value back. And I think, you know, that whole social media has got very good at being like proper addictive, let's all chase likes. But, you know, what values are actually bringing? And I guess everything I care about is if someone's going to put work up there, yes, it can inspire other people, but actually more important, Google might discover you and hire you. And that's what's actually going to make your career progress. Or you're suddenly like, oh gosh, I've got this amazing idea, but I need a front-end engineer. Then you can find a front-end engineer. Or I've got an amazing idea and I'm completely on my own. Oh, I can work with this whole team to make it happen. And I think for me, it's about like value spent as opposed to time spent, which is like that whole.
You just mentioned there. So the designer can also connect with other people versus just the professionals, or the corporate companies. I mean.
Absolutely. So that's the magic bit. It's around kind of fostering collaborations. I mean, we make money from corporations paying us to find talent, but then individuals just use us to find collaborators as well. And so, for example, it's completely free for people to post freelance call-outs on the dots, or collaborator call-outs on the dots. So if you're suddenly in that position where you're like, I need someone to do my logo, you can just do a shout-out on the dots and actually connect with all the talent on there.
And talking about the community, the dots community, are they highly engaged? You know,
they're magic. They are. I mean, God, they're amazing people. I mean, what's been sort of magic about the experience is because a lot of how we grow is through kind of word of mouth, but also people tagging other people in projects. It's built quite a cohesive community and an engaged community. We measure engagement by the associations to projects, so it's actually by making sure that we're giving people credit for the work that they do, which is kind of opposed to how Facebook obsess about like daily active use. But that's because they're an advertising model, and so they just want people coming back all the time. But, you know, I kind of think that's a bit of a waste of someone's life, you know. I actually would rather someone come to the dots every week and that leads to a collaborator or a job or a freelance opportunity, as opposed to coming back every day, because it's about, you've got better things to do in your life.
And we're super busy.
And everyone's super busy, exactly.
Talk to me through like some golden opportunities you're seeing for a lot of creatives, you know, because I can imagine how many people, just out of interest, are on the platform?
Yeah, we've got 250,000 and we're growing about 10% month on month. Amazing, so that's sort of mental to watch. And 6,000 brands now are using us to find talent.
So, you know, 250,000 creatives, 6,000 companies. Guys, I'm telling you this, if you are creative and you're not on the dots, you are 100% missing out. So sign up right now. Sign up right now. Oh my God, 10%. Like, maybe point less. My community's not.
But it's quality and it's lovely people too. Like, so you know.
So like, you know, what are the? So I can imagine amongst the kind of pool of those creators, they fall into buckets. Your UI, your visual, your motion, video. How many buckets, right? And you know, I really want to talk to kind of the UX community, and even graphic touch into there. But what kind of opportunities or white spaces are you seeing for people that are? Let's start with UI designers. UI designers.
I think firstly for UI, massive opportunity. I mean, there's just a massive skills deficit. It's insane. Like every company I go into, everyone's looking for good UI talent. Everyone's looking for good UX talent. Everyone's looking for creatives that also have some technical background as well. It's unbelievable. Like it doesn't even matter. It's tech companies, obviously, but it's across the board on all of them. So everyone from the BBC we're working for, working with, to Burberry, to everyone wants good UI and UX talent. And I think what sort of kind of is really interesting is we've got massive amounts of graphic designers on the dots, for example. but there aren't enough graphic design jobs anymore. But you've got this huge deficit of UI talent, and it's like, gosh, I just wish I could just get everyone skilled up, which is where you come in, which is brilliant. And just, you know, because I think for ages, graphic designers thought, you know, it's just not very creative being a UI designer, but that's not the case anymore. You can just do beautiful interactions and animations with UI, and there's a huge amount of creativity that gets involved. So I think, you know, upskilling graphic designers to be UI designers is a massive space, and also it's just interesting to see the rate, you know, differences. You know, you can earn 3 times the amount as a UI designer from graphic to UI, and it's you know, there is obviously an upskill session, but that's a massive jump in what you can do. And so, like, yeah, if you're a UI or a UX designer at the moment, you are so set. There is such a deficit of talent. So that's really exciting kind of to watch.
I don't know if maybe it's a big question to ask, but can you speak to maybe some of the reasons why there's such a deficit? Do you have any insights on that potentially?
I think just the whole world's moving digital. I mean, like, you know,
the speed at which
and the speed is crazy, and the sort of money that's going into tech companies. I mean, you're looking at, so we work with Matches Fashion, which is a fashion house which is over at the Shard. I mean, when I started working with them, they were in this tiny little, you know, studio space. And then last year they had 1 floor in the Shard. Now they've got 3 floors in the Shard. I mean, this kind of scale is e-commerce, yeah. So that kind of scale, you know, same with ASOS, same with Net-a-Porter, same with, and so it's not just tech companies that are wanting digital talent. Every company is having to become digital these days. So it's just across the board, and that's where the money's going. And we're kind of seeing it going, like, advertising is sort of shrinking, so, and brands,
television, radio,
yeah, so more like advertising agencies. I think, you know, that whole kind of market is sort of just stable, it's bottomed, it's just sort of pottering along. Yeah, and then all the brands though who are becoming digitally savvy, like you know, they're all just going like this. So there's just such a huge demand. I mean, Facebook's tripling in size at the moment. I mean, that's mental.
Globally,
it's just
it's nuts.
Bonkers.
Their needs, just one company alone, is going to have a big, massive need for designers who can work on new projects and you know, new systems, new visual identities, so on and so forth.
And the agencies that are doing well are the ones that are really good at digital. So like AKQA, you know, they've got hundreds of roles on the dots from all across us too. Those you know, those are the ones that have got it, you know, RGA, Sapient Nitro, Digitas, because there's still a massive demand for digital skill sets. So it's just great. It's really exciting.
Yeah, so here that guy is like massive demand for digital skill sets, got to get involved. And like, also, like, what about for the, so, and you mentioned that there are some freelancers on your platform as well. Yeah. And, you know, they've kind of said, you know, I want to be a bit more independent, maybe work with 1 or 2 people. Yeah. Are you seeing, like, those guys, are they getting work on your platform? How are they finding, you know, not just the dots, but, you know, this massive tech bubble that we're going through at the moment?
Yeah, freelancing is massive. It's funny, people kind of think freelancing is binary, like you're a freelancer or you're not. Okay. But we find actually there's a massive grey area in between. So like 41% of our community are actively freelancing, but around 62% are open to freelance work, and they're moonlighting on the side. So they might be at an agency, They might be an agency working on McDonald's campaigns, but on the side they're doing their own startup or they're freelancing for someone. So there's this big kind of grey area, and lots of people are adopting like portfolio careers as well. So they're working somewhere 3 days, almost like permalancing, and then on their 2 days off, they're doing freelance projects that they're really passionate about. So it's really interesting to see the fluidity. But yeah, I mean, you know, a huge part of what we do is helping freelancers get work. So the way that works is, I mean, it's completely free for companies to post freelance jobs on the site. So there's just a massive wealth of freelance opportunities to apply for. Tracks so much, and it's just lovely kind of watching that kind of, and it's freelance opportunities and like collaboration opportunities as well. And then also a lot of companies now actually don't even post jobs. So this is an interesting thing that's sort of changing. Find them.
Like word of mouth?
It's more like they actually got headhunting crews in their businesses. So someone like Google, for example, don't really post jobs anymore, but they've got whole teams inside of Google that are kind of all over platforms like the dots looking for talent, but on the projects that they've done. So what Google will do is they'll go on and they'll actually search for projects. So they'll put in like, we're looking for UXs, and then they'll see a whole raft of all the projects that have been searched. Or someone like Burberry will go in and say, okay, we love like how Net-a-Porter's site's designed, and they'll search Net-a-Porter and they'll find the design team behind Net-a-Porter. So a lot of the kind of change that's happening at the moment is a lot of companies are kind of searching to hire, so headhunting, as opposed to just posting a job. Some still post jobs too, it's a mix, but you know, a lot of, so I think it's really important these days for people to build their brand online, because you just never know when that opportunities. Yeah. Sorry, I'm hijacking.
Keep going. Yeah. Like, how do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah.
If there's a pool of UXs, there's a pool of UI designers, and you just got, and everyone's got amazing portfolios. How do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah. I mean, like, they're all like searching now. So, I mean, it was so lovely. I got an email recently from someone on the Dots who had got approached by Apple, but in Cupertino, and they flew that person to Cupertino to do an interview. I think the tip is you've got to put your work forward. You've got to promote the projects that you've worked on. A big part of what we're trying to solve is allowing people to get credit for the work they do. So, you know, there's so many brilliant awards out there, like the Webbies and award and things like that. But what tends to happen is the top people get the credit, and like mid-levels don't get credit, juniors don't get credit, freelancers don't get it, and they still worked on the same project. So on the Dots, you can get credit. You can associate yourself with projects and say, I was the freelance UI designer on this, even if you're not on the award credit list. So the big tips with the Dots is get the projects up there, but if there are projects on the Dots that you worked on, credit yourself in that project so that you get discovered. When Apple's doing that search, they see you as well as the rest of the senior team. And then the other thing is it's all about tags. So, you know, brands will search things like robotics, or they'll search kind of automotive, things like that, or they'll search for actual brands. So they'll go, okay, we really love the, you know, the Nike ad, and they'll search Nike, and then they'll find all the work for Nike. So it's making sure that when you do post your project, you're also telling whatever platform you're on all the data around that project so that you are easily found and searchable. And we just see so many of our companies just go, Nike, poach. No, I shouldn't say that. Oh, well, we do. It's the way that, no, it's fine. They're the freelancers, Nike, I promise.
But then at least, what's amazing is that because of the insights that you have as to how these brands are searching for people, that's why this is, hey guys, this is real valuable. This is like straight first hand, how you could not only build a brand through the Dots platform, but how employers are searching for you. They're searching for you based upon work you've previously done, or they're searching for you based upon the kind of topic or area they're designing, or they're searching for you based upon projects they like.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're looking at competitors or other projects that are just really nice in maybe other industries, and they're like, oh, I like that. I want something a bit like that. Let me try and find whoever was involved. And then they're basically connecting you out. So this is why it's so important for designers to actually collaborate, even if they're not working on actual projects, just to get to know other designers, because you may just through that collaboration work on something together that could lead to your next big break. You know?
Absolutely. Like, that's the most, I think it's so important to have a couple of really strong portfolio pieces. And if that's personal collaboration side project, brilliant, because I mean, we do these portfolio masterclasses every month in different offices around the city.
Can you talk to that?
Yeah. So basically we kind of realised that, you know, we've got this amazing community online, but we wanted to kind of bring it offline. So every month we do a portfolio masterclass in a different creative office around a different creative discipline. So we've done like videography masterclasses at Vice, photography ones at Spring Studios. We've done loads of UX and UI ones. So we've done ones at, we've actually done 2 at Google, 3 at AKQA, 1 at Digitas. And the way it works is people apply for the spots, and there's 10 mentors on the evening, all looking for talent. So, and those mentors are from the company that we host it from. So with Google, they've got this amazing program called the Google 5. And this is where they hire 5 juniors every 6 months, and they put them on a 6-month apprenticeship and train them up to go through Google. Some of Google's top designers now started on the Google 5. It's amazing. So whenever they've got an intake, we do an event at Google, and so half of the mentors are from Google, and then the other mentors are from like AKQA, RGA, Facebook, Sapient. And the way it works is people apply, and then there's 40 spots on the night, and then people pitch their work on the night to pick up mentors. And what I think is really interesting about talking to the mentors is they sometimes see that work's a bit samey. Because especially if you've just come out of university, you've sort of been working on similar-ish things. And it's funny how sometimes things that people have worked in personally, like collaborations, are the ones that stick in mentors' head, because it's not necessarily, you know, it's the ones which they're passionate about. It doesn't feel like project work. It feels like this is something you've done from your heart. So I remember there was a girl who had designed a kind of idea around a Airbnb collaboration, but about helping to house refugees. And it was so brilliant. And I remember speaking to all the different mentors. Every single mentor mentioned her. And it was partly because her, you know, UX thinking, UI thinking was good, but it's also, she was actually solving a real problem. And so that's kind of really interesting. I think it's like, if there's anything in the real world that breaks your heart, or there's anything that you see as a massive problem, design around that and solve that as part of your portfolio piece, and that will help get more attention than than necessarily doing that university project or whatever project you're doing. You know, it's kind of.
You actually hit a nail on the head point here, because I get a lot of designers that's like, well, I haven't worked on any real projects. I have no experience working with big brands. You know, how can I build my portfolio? I get this all the time. So, like, you know, I love what you mentioned here, like solving real problems, designing. You know, they may feel like projects from scratch, but you're actually solving a problem that's out there. You know, and that can help even junior designers with no portfolio now, you know, building their private time and then get into these great companies.
And you know, when you're passionate about something, you're going to produce great work. You know, like, you know, London is just riddled with homelessness right now. If I wasn't doing the dots, I would love to find a solution. And actually, I met an amazing guy recently who had a project called A Little Bit of Change, and it's actually a contactless machine that can go, because no one has change on them anymore, and so it's a contactless machine where you can put your credit card, send £5, and it will actually go to a shelter for a night or food, so it's actually something they can use. And I love that, like, you know, just there's so many problems in this world, look around and go, I'm a creative, how can I solve it? Get a few mates together, have a hackathon for a weekend, hack something together, put it in your portfolio, brilliant, there's your portfolio. You don't need a live client, like your live client can be the world.
A lot of mentors will employ you based upon your passion, and even if you may not have the technical skill they need, they can always train you up on projects. Like, that's how every designer will tell you most of their big skill sets was gained while they were working on real projects. So people are feeling like, I don't know certain tools or anything like that. I'm saying like, that's the least of your worries. You know, you want to show that you have got amazing thinking, design, real solid design thinking, and then make your way in.
You're 100% right. Like, you know, people will be, when you're junior, people will hire you on potential because they can see that you can become a great designer, and they will hire you on passion and drive. That's what they'll hire you on. They're not looking for you to be a finished product at all. They almost probably don't want you to be, because then they're like, how can we help? You know what I mean? And you're going to be a little hard to manage. They're probably they are definitely looking for like passion, that total, you know, someone that they can bring in and who's hungry to learn and who's just going to jump, and who's just going to be a joy to be around. And I think that's so important.
Now, you know, I won't take too much time here, but like, I want to kind of talk about the kind of business aspect, because I'm seeing that like work is changing, or the way we're working is changing. So from a business standpoint, are you seeing that a lot of businesses are becoming a lot more flexible in the way that they're treating designers? So they're not so, they understand the designers are maybe, like we mentioned before, having side jobs and those type of things. Do you think businesses are becoming more open to these types of ways of working? How have you found it with the businesses?
Yes and no. So like, I think the most forward-thinking ones, absolutely. I mean, the whole makeup of how people are working is now changing. I mean, you know, when my parents were growing up, it was all about, you know, you go to a job and you make your money and you go home, and you know, our community more sort of like, you know, pay is important, but also kind of, does the brand align to my values? Is, you know, are the people I'm working with nice people? You know, am I learning? Am I embracing new skills? I want to do side project. Can I do that? And so that whole kind of dynamic of people coming through is changing. And the thing is like, that change is happening. But the more forward-thinking companies are absolutely like, you know, so really open, like Virgin, 1 day a week you can work whenever you want. You know, Google does a similar thing. Apple's got a similar thing. You know, other places are just more flexible in timings. You know, other places just got really good in terms of, if they're not giving you flexibility to work on side projects, they're giving you flexibility to work on things that are really engaging in the business, which is different. And But the more traditional ones, they're really slow to change. But I think that means they won't really be around for much longer, because there's just, people are going into these really traditional businesses going, you know, it's not really for me, and they're leaving. Yeah,
the legacy of that name.
Exactly, and I have a couple of portfolio pieces, but then they're getting out of there, and they're forming their own collective. So they're making, you know, it's all about contacts. So they go in, make some contacts, make some friends, get into collaborations, and then start your own collective. You know, actually, there's a load of crews in here that used to all work for traditional advertising agencies that have then jumped ship, and now they're in, like, you know, 2-3 person bands. We're bringing in freelancers when they need them to work on stuff, and how fun is that? Like, you know, you've got flexibility on what you're doing, you're working on projects, you know, you can't always work on projects you absolutely love, but at least you have the option to go.
And that autonomy gives you a bigger sense of value, isn't it? That's what a lot of people are finding. So then there's massive opportunity. One, if you want to have a career and you want to push yourself into the career space, especially for designers, visual designers, UX designers, massive opportunity. But two, if you're creative, then it's amazing for you to build your network, build your connections in these companies, so that if you do choose to maybe leave and set up your own thing, then you've got a real pool to pull from when you're working on some amazing projects. I think I will leave it there, Pip. As we kind of close off, is there any like major nuggets or tips or anything? I think I tried to extract as much as I could from
your questions are amazing.
Is there anything that you could throw out there that people need to pay attention to? Especially in the context of building their own brand, getting themselves out there, setting themselves apart.
I think a lot of thing I get asked, and especially because I'm a woman in tech, is that sort of imposter syndrome thing, and that whole like, oh, I'm not really good enough. I mean, the honest truth in tech, and none of us know what we're doing. The whole space is moving so quickly, and I think some people get kind of crippled by fear, and they're like, oh, I don't want to go to an event with Google, I'm not good enough. And actually there was this amazing girl who went to our Google event a year and a half ago. She ended up meeting a mentor. She ended up like becoming this incredible like force of nature. Her name's Slumflower. And she said to me, Pip, I nearly didn't come to that masterclass because I didn't think my portfolio was good enough. And I just think she did go, and she got out of her comfort zone, and her career's gone like mental since then. But I think sometimes fear cripples us, and the honest truth is, like, most of us don't really know what we're doing. We're all learning as we go. You know, the world is moving so fast. I mean, none of us can. I mean, actually, not knowing is sometimes an advantage, because when you don't know, you ask questions, and when you don't know, you learn. And the problem is with tech moving so fast, if you assume you know stuff, actually, what you know is probably about 2 years out of date anyway. So I think the main thing is just do it. Like, be really open-minded. You are going to fail. Like, I fail all the time. But failure is great as long as you learn from it and don't repeat your mistakes.
What's that quote they say? Insanity is repeating.
Yeah, the same thing over again.
You don't do that.
You don't do that. Fail fast, move on, learn from it, make a note.
I think you said that, right? To all the women out there, if you are creative, if you're in tech, get networking.
Yeah, definitely.
I get a lot of messages. So I get a lot of guys on my platform, but the few women that do message me back, especially through LinkedIn and stuff, please keep going, ladies, because there's so much opportunity for women. I'm seeing a lot of women in tech, like girls in code, like so much that's happening.
So much. Women Who's another brilliant one. There's some great, there's some brilliant networks. And also, as a tech founder who has to walk into a lot of tech events where I am definitely in the minority, actually, they're really nice. People are generally nice. I think I used to hate networking. It used to give me but I realised that everyone's there for the same thing, and everyone's generally nice. And if they're rude to you, then they're not nice people. So just move on. Don't work with them. So you've worked out straight away. So people are generally really, really nice.
So as you can see, guys, I had an amazing interview there with Pip Jamieson from The Dots. I spent an amazing time with her, getting to know her and what she's doing. And I advise all UI, UX designers out there, please subscribe to her platform, and definitely you can get yourself hired and even start getting some really good freelancing gigs. Today, I just want to ask you before you go, subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter. And just remember, you can improve your life through creative advice, and always and forever keep pushing forward, keep growing, and keep learning more every single day. And just have a blessed day and keep safe. Take care. So as you can see, guys, I had an amazing interview there with Pip Jamieson from The Dots. I spent an amazing time with her, getting to know her and what she's doing. And I advise all UI, UX designers out there, please subscribe to her platform, and definitely you can get yourself hired and even start getting some really good freelancing gigs. Today, I just want to ask you before you go, subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter. And just remember, you can improve your life through creative advice, and always and forever keep pushing forward, keep growing, and keep learning more every single day. And just have a blessed day and keep safe. Take care.